I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside. It's so comfortable and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off-road. The guy managed the group. He was like, what are you doing in this beautiful car? I'm like, I'm going off-road. He's like, are you sure? Because you can use one of ours. And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
Capella University is rethinking higher education. With its game-changing FlexPath learning format, you can earn your degree on your schedule and fit your education seamlessly into your life. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show. Today on the James Altucher Show.
Yeah, so you guys you're not historians.
No.
But so what? Like,
but
we're not even really we're not even fully straight guys. So we're not really full anything.
We're not full anything. We're all almost of one thing, but we feel like, the money was always going to come second. Like, we just started because we both love history. We love comedy. We're comedians that love history. So we were like, forget it. We're not worried about, like, how we're going to make every dollar. And it's like, just put the product out. And now we're seeing the money come.
It's a freeing feeling. I feel like I'm back in school being a class clown again, except nobody can kick me out of school now.
Well, and the thing is, that's how you're going to make money, because that's when you're uniquely you. 100% of your talents come to the forefront instead of like, oh, I got to learn how to like plug this in or take that out or type this memo. Again, you're allowed to talk about history. No PhD in history gets more views than you guys get.
Yeah.
You call yourselves Wikipedia sluts, which is fine because most people don't even read Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about Harriet Tubman, I learned something about Harriet Tubman.
That's our whole goal for our podcast is we want to make you laugh. It's a comedy podcast first, but we also you can regurgitate a fact or two at a party that night. That's all we're trying to say. We're not trying to reinvent history here.
Something out. That was like my discipline for those 2 years. And it was great. You realize you don't, like, if I go past a bookstore, I want to buy that book. Can't do it because it won't fit in my backpack. And I'll just do it on the Kindle app or whatever on the phone.
Just read it that way.
Yeah. So it worked.
Yeah.
So your stress level, you're playing the game, keeping your stress level low. Because you're doing what you want kind of, but you're very flexible.
Kept
Do you
my
have
stress
kids?
level
Are
totally
we on
low.
the podcast yet? Should we be talking about this on the podcast or no?
We could be. Are you recording?
I recorded like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm good like this. Yeah, thanks, man.
Do you have kids and a family and stuff though?
Yeah. So I have, now I have 5 kids because my wife had 3. I have 2. But my kids would basically say, where are you Airbnb-ing this week? They would see what stores are around and they would decide if to visit me or not. So It was great. And then they would come over. I would be busy. They'd go to the stores or whatever was around, and where if I would hang out with them and we'd check different restaurants out. We were all exploring a new area together.
Yeah.
And I lived in like every area of New York City. I lived in California, Florida, Austin, all over the place.
So they're enjoying it too. They're seeing the positive as
And
well.
your kids would, and you always saw your kids. Like, you never went months without seeing them or anything.
No. I had them every other weekend. I had them, or I would visit them where they lived. And now though we rent, so that everybody's got rooms.
So your children live with you now?
Well, no. Now they're I have 2 17-year-olds, a 19-year-old, and 2 20-year-olds. So the 20-year-olds are in and out. Even the 17-year-olds are in and out. 19-year-old is permanently here. And so it's just like, this is like, at any point, we don't know how many of the 5 kids will be here.
So when your kids were young, like 2, 3, 4, what were you in one place when they were babies?
Yeah.
Right.
Then I was in one place. But they didn't care. It's not like this is home. Like they don't like, I don't think they ever cared. Like, what's our home? What's our roots? Like nobody gives a shit unless their parents tell them this is it. Like, you can always come back here.
Right.
So everything's like marketing. It's like a scam.
Yeah. I know.
So,
that's how we feel. It's all conditioned thinking.
I'm starting to realize that more and more, how much it pays to kind of be a little bit full of shit because everyone else is full of shit.
Yeah. Well, but or if you're not, if you're the one, right. So everybody's full of shit, and if you're not full of shit, they hate you. Like I've gotten death threats by going on Yahoo Finance and telling people you shouldn't buy a home, because if someone bought a home, that's the biggest financial decision they'll ever make. You can't tell them they're wrong. Right. So or else they'll send you a death threat. I get it all the time. Right. Or how much do you use your American university degree?
0.
How much do you use your doctorate?
0.
Right. So how much did I?
And I'm still paying. I'm still in debt for it.
Yeah, it's $1.6 trillion in debt in this world, and for student loan debt. And
I got a doctorate in physical therapy for my mother. I did that 100% to please my mom. Yeah. And it's like, because my dad, never had an education, so my mom overcorrected. She was like, "You're going to go all the way. You're not going to stop until you get a freaking graduate degree." So I did it, and then I did it for 2 years, loved it, but I did it for 2 years, and now it's like I've been doing comedy full time for 6 years, but every month I got to pay $1,000, to pay my loan back that I don't use at all. I don't even know where the diploma is.
Right. And by the way, if you stop paying that $1,000, that's the one debt you're not allowed to stop. Like your government, even if you go bankruptcy, if you declare bankruptcy, the government will still garnish your wages for that debt. And they'll put you in jail or whatever. Like, I don't even know. And it's crazy. Why is the most at-risk group have the biggest amount of debt, and it's the only debt you can't get rid of in a bankruptcy?
And then as soon as I came out of school, I said, something is sinister about this. Doesn't make sense. I came in with a doctorate degree that cost $160,000 to make an entry-level $55,000 a year job. I was like, who cares if you have a doctorate degree? Oh, somebody could call you doctor? Fuck, I don't care. I'm making no money. I'm drowning here. Yeah. And now doing what I love in comedy, it's like, I forget about the physical therapy stuff, and I'm just like doing this, but yeah, it's like even my daughter, like she's 4 now, and my mom's like, start saying words like college to her, get her into her head. I'm like, I don't know if I care if she goes to college or not. Yeah, I want her to do what she wants to do.
But the kids get so much pressure. Their guidance count, because high schools get funding now based on like who they're sending to college and what colleges, and then colleges get money depending on what jobs they get. So it's all rigged to keep pushing people through the system for other reasons other than that it's good for you.
But let me ask you this question. Do you think it's necessary because of the population increase? Otherwise, what would you do with all these people? Where would they work? Especially now with automation. It's like you have to have all these bullshit jobs, and you have to have this inflated system that's built on bullshit, or else there's just a surplus, like a superfluous amount of people who are useless. Who you don't like. What do you do with these people?
Yeah, well, let me ask you a question. First off, something like 97 out of 100 people have jobs. Do you think they all deserve jobs?
No.
No. When you guys are looking around a comedy club, you think everybody in the audience, you can see who deserves to be working and who doesn't.
Whenever you do an industry shoot, whatever it is, especially now, you'll see like 20 people you could point out in the first 3 minutes. You're like, that guy does not need to be here. Right. Someone who's just going like, I'm here to see if you want soda or water. Right. Yeah. And then there's another guy going like, we need to do makeup. You're like, who wears makeup for fucking shoots anymore? Right. And by the way, people are conditioned to just see you with the phone like this.
Right. And with HD cameras, you could tell, someone's got this brown cake on their face.
You look worse with makeup on now.
It looks weird.
Yeah.
I when we shot an opening thing for his Comedy Central hour special. Yeah. And that's when it really hit me. Because it took us they had a van there. Not even a van. They had a movie fucking.
Yeah, they closed down a street.
For it.
Which is like $20,000. So
that's easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had makeup, producers, all these people. They did 5 million takes, different angles. I'm going we could have shot this on our phone for free, and it would have looked exactly the same.
Not only would it have looked exactly the same, it would have pushed my special even further because, like Yana said, people are now conditioned to I don't want to see this big fancy shoot thing anymore. I'm like, what is that? Unless it's like a Marvel movie. All the stuff that has organically pushed our podcast and our individual comedy careers forward have been stuff that we're doing on our phone with no makeup, no camera crew, nothing. Even a video. I have a perfect example. I had the special come out, Giannis mentioned, on Comedy Central. I did this bit about what happened to me on 9/11, and it's like shiny on stage, and Comedy Central cut it a certain way and edited a certain way, and it just came and went. Then I was at the Comedy Cellar, just a camera on me. I was kind of drunk. It was sloppy, but I did the bits, and it went viral. Got over 1 million views and pushed my career really far now. And we didn't need any of that fancy shit.
Right. Right. So you got 1 million views, and I trust that people watched the whole thing. It was like a riveting story. And you did Blowing the Light, like your special. People are doing specials now on YouTube, and it's who even have you ever watched a Hulu TV show?
No.
Like a Hulu TV show. Like take Andrew Schultz. He was in Here's Johnny, which was, by the way, a great sitcom.
Show.
Yeah. And I'm the only person other than you guys now and Andrew who's ever even heard of that show.
I only watched it because I personally knew Andrew, and I only knew about it because I love Andrew's Instagram. Yeah. So yesterday, Giannis and I got hired to do videos to promote this new show called Miracle Workers on TBS, which seems like it could be a good show. But we were like, they rented out this big space, paid us to do this. And we were like, you're just flushing money down the toilet.
Nobody's going to
watch the show. The people here, it's already in its second season. We thought it was the first season. Nobody's even ever heard of it.
We even asked somebody there. We were like, have you even seen the show? And they were like, no. And we were like, what were you doing? What are you doing here? And they're like, we're getting paid to be here. We're influencers. I'm like, this whole place is being
Just
paid to be here.
By the way,
just put it on the phone. It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Because everyone who's saying they're here watching the show doesn't even know what the show is.
They don't know what it is.
I heard about the show yesterday when they paid us to be there.
Yeah, but watch Miracle Workers on TBS because the check hasn't cleared yet. So please watch that
Miracle
show.
Workers TBS.
I actually do need the money.
It's the best show. I mean, it's got Daniel Radcliffe in it.
Yeah,
and
Harry
it's so
Potter.
Good. Yeah, it's so good.
But yeah, right. It's got all these people. Like, again, think of that show, Here's Johnny. It's produced by Paul Reiser. It's about Johnny Carson. It's got all these people in it. Yeah. And yet nobody has watched it. And over 1 million people have watched, your 9/11 story. People are watching, Blowing the Light. You could create people are watching your podcast. They're not watching some AM radio talk show. They're watching your podcast.
Oh, we're selling tickets now, like theaters, and for the first time in my career, like our careers, we're really Giannis sold. But even when Giannis was selling a lot of tickets, it was all off YouTube. No TV show, no TV credits. Nobody cares about the sitcoms anymore. Yeah. It's like why not? You can make the money, sure, $15,000, $20,000 an episode. That's great. But if you want visibility and you want ticket sales, which gives longevity, which is that's what we want, is not TV at all. Doing a podcast like this and you putting it out and your name gets us so much further than if we did the Tonight Show.
Yeah, no,
why didn't the entertainment industry? Why didn't someone in the entertainment industry do a Tanya Harding on this technology? Like when it was coming out, someone should have been like, "Hey, this is not good."
I think they probably thought of it, but they kept thinking, it's gonna be nothing. I mean, you've met TV executives,
sure,
right? So who's thinking, wow, we really better do something? My brain is telling me that this YouTube thing's gonna be big. Like they didn't say. They didn't see it.
I think the smartest people in comedy are comedians.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the smartest people I've met in the comedy business, that's like people adjacent, producers, TV people. I'm always like, and I meet a comic, I'm like, this guy's a lot smarter than the meeting with the people I just had.
Yeah, because think about it, how TV is structured. Someone who's, and by the way, we're all pitching TV shows probably, so this is not about anybody we're actually meeting.
Piece. It's a character piece. This is my friend Patty Mulrooney.
So if you think about it, someone has to choose you to be a comedian on some sitcom. There's only, out of like so many working comedians, only like 12 will get chosen for different things. And how are they gonna choose you? Yet you can do stuff on YouTube whenever you want. We could just put up some mics and do a podcast and load it up to Apple, Google, whatever, and people will listen. If you're funny, if you have a unique voice, if you have something unique to say, you guys have done it over and over again, which is you've chosen your own career as opposed to I hope this ABC executive chooses me.
Yeah. No, you don't have to wait anymore. Like I go do the auditions or we go do stuff just like for fun and like little cash grabs. But the real work is our podcast and the organic stuff through Patreon and through the things that we're doing on social media. That's where I'm seeing the ticket sales. Like I'm seeing it. Like we go on these. When we went out to Los Angeles, we went on all the big podcasts out there and we saw our numbers grow. The only one we didn't see our numbers growing, and it's no fault of his own, it's just the system, is when we did Sirius XM in LA, we did Netflix radio, we didn't get one follower. And that was the biggest production. They had cameras everywhere, elevator, people taking you have a green room and guest room. It's all smoke and mirrors. Nobody gives a shit. When we sat down on the couch with The Fighter and the Kid with Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub in a very nice studio, but like, we drove there ourselves. We sat down. They put the mics on. No fancy shit. We got thousands of followers and people buying tickets left and right. So most of us, like we know in this room and the Andrew Schultz of the world, we know where the new world is, but most of our peers are still conditioned to think they want to have a viewing party because they did the James Corden show. It's like, that's fine. Absolutely, that's fine. I'm not shitting on it, but it's like, if you think that's going to do anything for you anymore, to be on any network or anything like that, I mean, you're mistaken. Like, you're 100% mistaken. You're gonna drown in this new wave.
Yeah,
I thank you for being a Patreon member. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, buy that $1 million episode with Tim Dillon.
The least we can do is be here.
What happened
And if
on
you
the
need
Tim Dillon
anything
episode?
else, we'll do it. We'll pick up your laundry, whatever you want.
The Tim Dillon episode, it was one of those things where, if I got to be honest, it's on our Patreon, patreon.com/Bay Ridge Boys. We have it out there. It was one of those things where we started taking shots at people.
No, let's not tell him anything that's on there.
Well,
$1 million.
I'll tell you this. What I will tell you is this, it's a podcast that 20 minutes in, we felt like we could never release. And then we did another hour and 20 minutes after that. So that's what happened. So imagine an hour and 40 minutes of 3 comedians going cutthroat, saying whatever they wanted, thinking we're never going to release this. So as if we're privately in our own homes, and we fucking rage.
That's the true story.
That's the true story.
What happened 20 minutes in, 20 minutes in, I'm going, whoa, guys. I went, whoa, guys, we got to stop. We got to start over. We can't release this. And Tim goes, of course we're going to release it. He's the like cookie monster of comedy. Of course we're going to release it. I'm not going to release it.
Yeah.
And so then we kept going, did another hour until Tim goes, we can't release it.
And you know it's bad when Tim Dillon goes, we got to stop.
You know it's bad when the guy who told the booker of a late night show, when she said to him, I would love to work with you sometime, and he said, of course, I'd like to work with you too, as soon as you're in your rightful place of employment at a catering hall.
That's what he said.
That's what he said to her.
He doesn't care at
He
all.
doesn't care.
He just did
He
Alex
goes,
Jones.
I'll gladly work with you when I can take a shrimp off your tray.
But see, what's great there is he's got a point of view. You guys have a point of view. Think about like good comedy. It's not. Think about Tim Dillon's comedy. He's got this point of view. He could just riff off of his point of view, and if he knows it's coming from this core, you see with the audience, he doesn't care what the audience thinks. It's just coming from this core.
Yes.
This is my party. They're invited to it. They don't have to come.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and I get it. In like 2020 dynamics, it's like what the podcast is like, we're in people's ears for an hour, 2 hours a week. It's like when we come to their city, they want to buy tickets like they're supporting a family member. Like, we get messages all the time. I'm sure you do too. Like, hey, your podcast gets me through. I love listening to your podcast. I feel like I know you. You know, they'll come up to me and be like, oh, hey, how's your family member you spoke about? And I don't even remember speaking about that. So it's like TV
Or
to
if
be
it was a real one or not.
or if it was a real one or not. Yeah. So like TV shows and movies, it's like the people have to stop their life and like sit down and watch. And it's like, we're on the go now. So podcast is perfect. I'm walking, I'm going to the gym, I'm driving, I'm listening. And then I'll say, hey, I'll be here, and they'll buy the tickets.
Yeah, and
great.
you know, would you guys get death threats also?
He does.
I used to. I haven't got him in a while, but because I had these 2 viral characters, Maurisa and Mr. Panos, that kind of got big. And ironically, Mr. Panos, because I'm Greek, was the one that I would get death threats from. And I've gotten a handful of death threats from Greeks about the character because they felt like the character made Greeks look so bad.
Do you ever get nervous?
No.
Yeah.
No, because I just, we're New York City kids. I know, like, if someone's gonna hurt you, they're not gonna email you about it. You know, no one's gonna be like, "Dear Mr. Pappas, I'm offended. I'm gonna find you and kill you." It's just like they're gonna show up and kill you.
Right.
It's like when the guy killed John Lennon, he didn't like tell him, "Hey, I'll."
He didn't
meet you."
text him.
Yeah, he didn't text him and let him know I'm gonna kill you. He was like talking to whoever delusional dog he was talking to, and he was like, "I got to end the '60s." And the only person he was talking to was the imaginary person in his crazy head. So it's like, that's the guy I'm scared of. I'm scared of the guy who's like doing this, watching me at a live show, more than the guy that's like, I'm upset because you called Cypriots, not real Greeks or whatever,
Yeah, that's funny.
You get them? You get death threats?
I get death threats. And I was
Why,
wondering-
though?
It's all right. Your guy looks like he can defend himself.
Yeah, right. I did just start going to the gym, though.
Yeah, you're ready.
About, like a week ago. And I've already skipped 4 of those of the past week.
What are people threatening you for being good with money?
No, well, I'm actually really bad with money, but...
What, do people not like Jewish people?
When did that happen?
I didn't know that.
That's news to me.
I have got a few of those. Like, I got one the other day that the guy like rambled for a while, and he was using my name, so he clearly knew he was texting. And then in all caps, he's like, "My priority in life right now is you are going to die."
Jesus.
And then he sent the message the next day, And finally, I had to write back, and I said, "Listen, I was just making this up. I had to report this to the FBI. I'm sorry if they visit you or whatever." And he suddenly said, "Oh no, I was the wrong number. I had no idea." And I'm like, "Well, you used my name and my kid's name, so I don't know what you're talking about."
He had your kids' names.
Yeah,
And everything.
and but it happens. Why do I get death threats, Steve?
You get death threats for a variety of reasons. Because I think, as I mentioned, the way you look, the way you talk,
Because I'm ugly.
So no, you're handsome. I mean,
I think you're handsome.
I think you're cute.
I'll kiss you right on the lips.
The first thing I thought was like, he's a cute kid.
The turtle looks fast moving past the rock. That's great. You know why you get death threats? I mean, the crypto didn't help your cause.
Did not help the cause.
Yeah.
I like that you got 3 producers and nobody's got their shoes on. That's the new world.
Audio, video. Steve's the producer. He was a producer for 30 years on TV.
Yeah.
Made the right choice finally.
Yes.
Moved to the podcast world. We were just talking about Charlie Chaplin because Charlie Chaplin, he hated the movie scene. He hated having to like audition for directors and producers and getting shitty roles. So he started his own movie. So he started United Artists just so he could.
Right.
He was like the first kind of podcaster, really.
Right.
Like he chose his own thing.
Right.
So, and that's kind of like what
Well,
I mean. you
Hedy
guys are
Lamarr
doing it.
kind of did that too, didn't she?
I think she was
tried.
with him. I think they were. I think were they
Maybe.
together with United? He did it with 3 other. He did it with Mary something Pickford or whatever. I don't know who he did it with.
Well, let me just say this: if anybody's threatening James Altucher, you're gonna have to fucking deal with these 2 beefcakes.
Absolutely.
boy.
This
Yeah.
kid can throw hands, and I bite.
Yeah,
So
deal with us,
good
yeah.
luck trying to get to him through us, because we're
Yeah.
a couple kids from the outer boroughs,
Yeah.
and we know how to throw hands.
I'll hurt you physically and he'll hurt you emotionally.
I'll hurt
this
you
kid can
emotionally.
really dig deep with his words.
Yes.
And-
He's a bitch.
and and I know all the lawyers. So
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Boom.
the Jewish connection works a little bit.
Absolutely.
I know,
So-
but look, we live in a world now where it's like, like we went out in LA, people, it's like unfathomable to like think about like our fathers and grandfathers, like how much work they had to do to make the money that some of these guys, like you guys in the podcast world, were making with no shoes and socks on. I mean, we did the LA podcast, everybody was barefoot and they're in $5 million homes.
Yeah.
And they have to just, I'm watching their toes wiggle and I'm like, these guys have got millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So it's like just a new world. And it's like, I feel like so many of our friends are in this old model where it's like, if you can just think about what the new world is, it's like, we can all have it. We all have the talent to have it. We can all make the money.
Yeah, and
You know?
the money is that's the thing people don't realize. The money is out there unless you take and I'm not putting down like a classic Procter and Gamble 9-to-5 job, although I am. But when you're told, okay, we're going to pay you $19.95 an hour, that's you're capping yourself. You're not kind of jacking into the flow where it could be sky's the limit depending on the quality
Whatever.
you bring to the table and how you present yourself and so on. Like think about it. Like with you're doing your podcast History Hyenas. By the way, introduction: Chris DiStefano, Giannis Papas.
Yes.
History Hyenas, greatest podcast. It's one of the few podcasts I actually listen to all
Thank
the way
you.
through each time.
Thank you.
And no, seriously, I've been doing this podcast for 6 years. I've only started watching or listening to podcasts in the past 6 months. In the entire 6 years, I listened to you guys. I now listen to me. I never listened to me before, and I listen to Tim.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Joe Rogan, you can't listen to every single episode,
Yeah,
but I
too
listen
long.
to as many Joe Rogans
Schultz,
as I can.
I'm sure you listen to
Yeah,
Schultz.
Schultz. Depending on which one, like, because he has so many also. But
If you got
like
your black
Flagrant-
friends over, you're listening to him.
Which
Yeah,
one?
your
If your black
friends, yeah.
friends come over, you're listening to Flagrant too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I used to like. He doesn't do inside jokes anymore. Inside jokes. Was
No,
great.
that was
good
good.
show,
Inside
yeah.
Jokes was good.
Yeah.
And then he just got his new podcast studios. I'm gonna check it out. And
I know.
so he's moving up the podcast world. But yeah. So you guys you're not historians.
No.
But so what? Like
But
We're not
we
even
are
really
passionate
full.
about
Yeah,
it.
we're not even fully straight guys. So we're not really full anything.
We're not full anything. We're all almost of one thing, but we feel like, the money was always going to come second. Like we just started because we both love history. We love comedy. We're comedians that love history. So we were like, well, forget it. We're not worried about like how we're going to make every dollar in this. We're like, just put the product out. And now we're seeing the money come, like, in little spurts. We're seeing it come now.
And I'll be honest with you, we're having such a good time. It's so like when you don't have production people or notes coming from a lot of places, when you're a comedian, your dream is to be able to create comedy just from your mouth to the air to people's ears. So we're doing now what we do live without any input from anybody. And it's like, it's a freeing feeling. I feel like I'm back in school being a class clown again, except nobody can kick me out of school now.
Well, and the thing is, that's how you're gonna make money, because that's when you're uniquely you. 100% of your talents come to the forefront instead of like, oh, I got to learn how to like plug this in or take that out and or type this memo. Again, you're allowed to talk about history. No PhD in history gets more views than you guys get.
Yeah.
You call yourselves Wikipedia sluts, which is fine because most people don't even read Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about Harriet Tubman, I learned something about Harriet Tubman.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's our whole goal for our podcast is we want to make you laugh. It's a comedy podcast first, but we also like you can regurgitate a fact or two at a party that night. That's what we're trying to say. We're not trying to reinvent history.
We want
here.
to tell you a little bit about Harriet Tubman, and then he wants to call himself Harriet Tuckman.
Yeah, I want to put my dick and balls between my legs and Buffalo Bill myself and say, I'm Harriet Tuckman.
That's it.
Harriet Tubman's brother who wants to get a sex change.
A little
And
yang,
it's
a little
just what
yang.
it is.
Yeah,
that night at cocktail parties everywhere, everyone was saying, "Oh, I'm Harriet Tubman."
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where'd you get that?
Yeah.
No, I just made it up.
People
right
have
now.
already messaged us saying next year their Halloween costume is Harriet Tuckman.
Harriet
And they're
Tubman,
just going to go as Harriet Tuckman.
You
So
just sell it as merch, actually.
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like that's what our podcast is. But we learn a lot of shit too. Like we'll discover, especially uncomfortable truths. We learn a lot about that. We learn a lot of stuff where you're like, oh, wait, society says this and the news says this, but if you dig deeper, here's what actually happened, but it's not palatable and sexy that happened, so they move on.
It's so easy in this era because it's like uncomfortable truths now are considered uncomfortable truths now because liberal arts education has gotten so overly politically correct that they sort of gloss over a lot of those ugly realities that we know are true just because we live in the world now and we know that's what the world is. So, of course, it always was that way.
Right.
You know, nothing's ever purely one way or the other. It's always sort of like these gray zones, and that's what history is.
And you talk about marketing campaigns, like we learned a big one. You know, I read this book, 1776. You ever read that book by David McCullough?
Yeah.
Excellent book. And then I did, what I loved about it so much is he did most of his research from the British point of view. And then I read some more books associated with it, especially stuff about George Washington. And like even the whole idea of freedom from the British Empire. When we were doing research for the podcast, we found out that was just a marketing campaign. The people who lived in 1770s, 1780s, they didn't want freedom from Britain. Britain was being nice to them. They just wanted to be represented in Parliament. That's all they wanted. But after 1775, when the U.S. troops or colonial troops were getting their asses kicked, and people were like, they only signed up for 7 months. They were like, oh, we don't want to sign up again. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, all the great thinkers of our time were like, we have to give them a rallying cry to stay. So they came up with just one night in a cabin. They're like, what if the new pitch is let's get freedom from England. Let's get our own independent sovereign nation. Let's do that. And most of the people at the time were like, we don't want that. But it was the only thing that they could do. And then they started circulating all papers and pamphlets and were like, hey, we're going to be free. So people started to be like, okay, let's be free. Even though that's not really what we want, let's be free. And then when the war ended, it didn't end because the mighty colonial army and the French army overcame the mighty British army. The British army could have stayed another year and destroyed them. They were like, this isn't worth it anymore. They're like, we're losing money on them now. We own so many other colonies, and we own Bermuda, and we own other places in Europe. Let's just leave them alone, give them their country, and we'll go back to England. It's fine. But, as a schoolboy, you learn that Paul Revere and the little ragtag army overcame them. And none of it is true. It's just it's a marketing campaign.
Well, and also what always strikes me interesting, that war lasted a really long time.
Yeah.
Like it was going into the mid 1780s. Like we think, oh, we declared independence and suddenly we're free.
Yeah.
And it was going on and on and on. Kids were dying in the
Hell yeah.
winters.
And it was fought more than just the colonies. It was in the South America. It was in parts of Canada, and it kept going.
Yeah.
And so many people got dragged into it really for kind of, I don't want to say nothing because obviously we got our independence, but I just thought as a kid, I was told one story that's just simply not true. It's just so many years have went by that the new narrative is this, but that's not actually the truth.
Right. And they say history's written by the winners, but I think also it's really only a small percentage of the winners that are actually writing it. So like the Boston Tea Party, that was totally just a marketing thing. Like it wasn't really that, they were trying to raise taxes on us. There was some weird thing. I forget exactly the details now, but there was some weird thing where just a certain group of people weren't going to make as much money, but their competition was being opened up in interesting ways. And so the Samuel Adams of the world were like, nope, let's just cut this down right now. And it was kind of it was a whole reverse of how they presented it. But
they mobilize the people by saying like they're trying to hurt you, but it's really like they're hurting me, and I need you to fight for me.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
and what it is.
Actually, what's even the benefit of U.S. independence? Like, yes, we did fight for something, but okay, Canada didn't fight, and they're pretty independent now. And
Yeah.
Australia, New Zealand,
Yeah.
these countries are bigger than the UK in a lot of ways. So,
Sure.
I mean, now the UK is going to lose Scotland probably. They just lost. They're going to lose Ireland.
Yeah.
They're basically a tiny little thing without the wars.
Yeah.
So I don't know what. And then UK also freed the slaves before US did.
Way
Something
before.
like 1831 or something.
Yeah.
So why did we even fight that war?
Oh no, I know. Even when I was reading that 1776 book, that was one of the biggest things when British soldiers would go over there and they would report back to their superiors who were in England. They were like, the biggest atrocity that they're seeing in the 13 colonies is the slaves. They're like, I can't believe they're doing this to these people still. So it's kind of like where we were more like the bad guys to the British. They were like, why are you enslaving these people? Why would you do that? Like, by the time, we wouldn't have slaves fighting our armies for even in World War II. It was like, oh, a black unit. Britain had black soldiers come over in 1776. They were like, yeah, these are people. Why are you enslaving everybody?
Yeah.
So it's just like this whole idea of shit. I'm like, I just question everything now from doing this history podcast. I'm just like, oh, wait a second. What is the truth here? And I'm not saying I'm going to come this conspiracy theory and like some things I'm just like accept. I'm like, people like, oh, your face, you give your face to the government with the iPhone. I'm like, they can have my fucking face. I don't care. It's just like, I'm going to pick on every little thing. But it is interesting to learn about history and see like, hey man, like this, it's all marketing. It's all what these people want you to think. And you just have to be like, are you going to be a player in that game or not? Kind of thing.
Yeah, because look at like World War II. You can say there's a lot of reasons. Okay, Japan was this, Germany was this. Germany's has all is slaughtering
Well, they were
everybody.
always getting weird. The Germans are always getting weird. You always got to keep your eye on those kids.
Yeah.
They're always like up to something. You kind of like, they're just, they're kind of like just, how psychopaths just kind of like trying to figure out emotions. They look at you kind of like, that's just kind of what the Germans are always doing. They're like, what's it like to feel? And then they just want to consume you because they want to feel like they want to eat your feelings. So they
Germany
can
are
feel.
wild people.
Yeah,
But to your point from your podcast, actually, is that most of America was either German or had some German descent. So we kind of had to figure out how to lure the Japanese into this. So we had a rallying cry. Okay, now we got to get into this.
Right.
We lured them into bombing Pearl Harbor. By the way, we didn't say 6 million Jews were killed in Germany. It's not like we went in there to save the Jews. The Jews all died in Germany.
Yeah.
So we saved almost zero of them.
Yeah.
Jews even tried to escape to America. Franklin Roosevelt turned back the ship and they ended up in concentration camps.
As a matter of fact, I read another book called The Nazi Symbiosis, which is a wild book. Like if you just ever randomly came over my house, it's like a book with a big swastika on it. And it's like, no, I'm not pro them at all. It's just I learned the history of America's enemies. So, but in that book, it was interesting. It was talking about like eugenics and like what the Holocaust like main purpose was. Of course, they wanted to get rid of have the master race and get rid of what they were labeling as the inferior race and blah 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 blah. But the eugenics part of it was the part that the scientists wanted, and that was just about manipulating genes and trying to build this Uberman. And the German, according to this book, the German scientists got the idea from American and British scientists 15 years before. So there's certain documents that in this book sort of prove that, hey, Winston Churchill and FDR and other Allied superiors knew that the Holocaust was happening, and they claim they didn't. They knew. But the reason why they didn't go in and infiltrate it right away is because they wanted to see what experiments, what was going to be yielded from these experiments. What were they doing to manipulate the genes? Was Hitler and his scientists, were they finding any type of gene manipulation that was new science? And it was only after 2-3 years when they just kind of stopped the science and just started killing them, in waves, then they infiltrated it. So it's like the blood is on everybody's hands, according to this book from World War II. It's like, hey, the Allied powers knew it was happening. They didn't stop because they wanted to see what the science was. So everybody's a piece of shit in war.
Right.
Again,
I don't know, like when you were growing up, like for me, for some reason, just coincidentally at the end of the year in history, it always broke off. Oh, World War II's over. The school year's over. We can't really get into Korea and Vietnam.
Right.
Maybe next year we'll get to it.
Right.
They never do until never.
It's true. Yeah, like most people, even me, I don't even know that much about the Korean and Vietnam War.
Other than like MASH.
Yeah, that's
and there's
it.
no TV shows in Vietnam. Like
That's-
that was just
Yeah.
it was just that.
that's not sitcom friendly Vietnam.
Yeah.
Well, we also didn't win that war, so that's one that they kind of like.
Well, that's why they stopped the history
they're
books
just
there.
like,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah, we
just,
didn't
like,
win at all.
yeah.
Well, and also, did we win Iraq and Afghanistan? Like
No,
Afghanistan's
haven't
still
won that.
happening.
Yeah.
Iraq, they just kicked us out,
No.
or they're claiming to kick us out.
Yeah.
They don't, Iraq doesn't even exist as a country anymore, really.
Well, the
I
thing
know.
is, we can't even win war. The dirty secret is you got to keep that quiet because we can't really win wars anymore because we don't have like hungry soldiers anymore. You know, it's like we got to use mercenaries and stuff because I'm not going to war. I mean, life is too good here. This is Rome again, and we are at the peak of Rome, and it is comfortable. It is bread and circus. So you're going to recruit some 15-year-old kid to give up his iPhone. Even poor people here eat meat. You're going to tell those kids to go die for you in a foreign land? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But you go to a third world country, they're ready. That's why we're about to get rolled over by the Chinese. They're coming.
Oh, the Chinese are coming.
Yeah, they're coming.
We had on
Inside and out, they're going to beat us. There he is. He's ready coming.
You got one in here already. Where the fuck did you come from?
No, Jay's from Malaysia. We'll protect Jay.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we're from Brooklyn, so it's all Chinese to us.
Yeah, that's
we
what
don't
it is.
fucking know the differences.
Just joking.
Yeah,
Jay,
just
Jay
kidding.
and Ronnie Chang speak the same language.
Yeah.
so
Oh,
it's
okay.
like- yeah.
Ronnie Chang's, I don't know. He's
I love
Chinese
Rai
to
Chang.
me.
But the Chinese are doing great. They're hungry. They're like America was like in the 50s and 40s, like hungry.
Right.
Immigrant, they're hungry. They're coming up. Their middle class is growing. And we're just sitting there going like, what's going on? Yeah.
Well, and also they're not afraid to try things technically. They're not worried about, oh gosh, what are the ethics of this? So we were talking to a guy, Jamie Metzl. He wrote this book, Hacking Darwin, that genomics is at this point where you could start playing around with turning stem cells into embryos. Like a couple could have 1 million embryos and then rank them in terms of whatever, intelligence or strength or whatever. You could rank the embryos in terms of like how X they're going to be, and then abort 999,999 of them and have the one live. And the
Wow.
Chinese can already, within 10 years, Jamie was saying, the Chinese will be able to do this. We're not going to do it.
Right.
And they really will have a bunch of superhumans of some sort.
Right.
Yeah.
That might all die at the age of 36, but they don't care. Like,
Right.
they're going to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
They'll find out.
Yeah.
But by then we might be overrun in some weird way that we don't even understand.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean the potential for what can be done now makes it really wild to think about what the future is going to be because they totally can clone people now.
Yeah.
You can sort of make a cyber but they could probably implant artificial intelligence into you. So it's like, what is the future going to be like?
Well, and I think there's
I
some
think it might be
guessing.
time to just
Some
shake the board and go away.
Some theories think that there are already clones out here, but you just don't know. Could be.
Well, probably in China. I mean, here there's all these laws though because we're so concerned about a religion created thousands of years ago that we can't affect the people who are sensitive to that. We make laws about everything. China's just going for it, like on
Yeah.
AI, on genomics, on stem cell research. They're just. We had Kai-Fu Lee, who's a big AI investor in China. He was like, we're already dead on AI in China. Some people disagree, but there's no reason why they can't pass us because we have laws. Right now, the whole facial recognition thing, we're not allowed to do it. But they're doing it. They know where everybody in the country is. They're putting social scores in everybody, like how much of a good citizen is this person versus this citizen. It's like they're giving like everybody an Uber rating and then acting accordingly. So I don't know what effects this will have on our future, but we just do things so cautiously.
Right.
We're like afraid to experiment.
Right.
Well, Giannis
we're
talked
burdened by morality. I mean, it's like those things do come with ethical questions, no?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. So you have to ask, like, is it
Yeah.
a healthy thing? But at the same time, while we're figuring that out, and I'm not saying it's not worth it to figure that out, but while we're figuring that out, they're gonna have the 1 million embryo baby,
Yeah.
and
Right.
Yeah.
So-
But it also feels like that's like the next frontier. It's like, what else can we do as a human species? Like, we've
Yeah.
done everything that we
Yeah.
can do. So
Yeah.
feels like that's the next thing is, well, now you play God and make people out of not, the miracle way. You make them in a lab.
And it's
Yeah.
almost ironic that the farther technology has gotten, the more it's kind of reverted or come full circle to what it originally started as. Like, this is a radio show, essentially. And now podcasts have become sort of the premier way people consume entertainment. And that's what they used to do when, like, the radio was invented.
Yeah, when the
So-
Yankees were winning those World Series
Yeah.
in the 20s and 30s, it was the radio.
which
you
is
know?
wild to
Yeah.
think about how far it comes. It's almost like, the universe, the farthest point you go, you're back to where you started,
well, think about how you,
which is why I think we're over.
and think about how you communicate too, though.
Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main. That's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So, I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy.
Lately, in the past few years, people now are getting back to texting everybody. Like my kids just text. They don't even use email. Right. So email was like going to be it. And then there was, web stuff and this and that. But now everybody's just back to SMS text. Like, did you text them? And we don't even really email as much anymore.
Yeah.
I know. I
Pretty
noticed,
soon we'll send a bird to each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I notice even like in emergencies, like people will like text, like house is on fire. It's like fucking call.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone.
Yeah.
You know, but people don't even are conditioned to do that.
Did you not get my text? No.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
texting is the oldest thing. It's like Morse code, like was older than the phone. So
Yeah.
you know,
I bet you most people's phones, the icon that's tapped the least is the call button.
Right.
People, I mean, there's times where my phone, I don't call anybody on my phone for days, but I'm communicating with everybody.
Steve calls me a lot, but I never return his call. So I don't like to return. I don't like to talk to people on the phone. Like it's awkward. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd rather just, we could communicate. I mean, that's what they were saying. I was reading another article about like how like STDs and like pregnancies on like the first date are like the highest they've ever been because especially young people are communicating through social media or texting for weeks before they meet. They've already given up all their secrets about each other. You feel like they know each other, but they physically actually never met. So by the time they actually do meet, first time they're having unprotected sex and it's leading to problems because they, because if I'm talking to your phone, I'm really talking to you. I mean, a phone's a part of us. So I was reading that article like, wow, that's fucking really, really, really interesting. But I get how it makes sense now.
Yeah.
You know?
And to your point also, it's the podcast it's almost like a bad radio show, right? And yet this is the way, like Joe Rogan is the most popular, most consumed media on the planet with the podcast.
Well,
and
look at that girl Lily Singh. Who's got a show on NBC, like a late show. That's a major network show. Her fans think she's a sellout because they know her from YouTube. And they know her from the not shiny stuff.
I think that show also is getting canceled. I think it wasn't getting the ratings. She's the most popular person on YouTube. She had billboards all over New York City. It was their YouTube experiment in mainstream advertising. She was huge. She is huge on YouTube, but somehow the TV doesn't work. And yet, when you get called onto the stage for comedy, they'll say, you've seen him on The Tonight Show or this show or that show or opening up for Lily Singh or whatever. It's they won't say, oh, you've seen him have 1 million views on this one YouTube clip. It doesn't make sense, really. There's still this, who do we have on who was pitching a show? And I'm like, you already have billion. Oh, Nas Daily. Said billions of views on Facebook, his Facebook videos. He did a video a day for like 1,000 days or 3,000 days, something like that. And he had billions of views. Each one gets like 10 million views now at least. He can't get a TV show on. And I'm like, why are you even going for a TV show? And he's like, there's still that brand thing happening.
Stigma,
it's like a market. It's like a marketing scam that where we think if it's on that screen, it's more important than if it's on the smaller screen.
It's conditioned thinking from that era. That's like there's still fumes running from that era.
Yeah, those LA comedians who we met, like you can't pay Joe Rogan to do a TV show. Why would he do that?
Yeah.
He would lose money. Most of our most successful peers in comedy specifically, that's all we can talk about because we know it, would lose money doing a TV show. The real successful ones. I mean, they would, they're making $60,000 a day doing their podcast. Some of them way more. And it's like, you can't make that doing TV. No chance. And they'll be seen by way less people.
And they're making so much money live from that exposure from their podcast or their viral videos or vlog or whatever. I mean, I think what's happened is because seeing someone on a screen is so commonplace now, it's kind of reversed. Whereas it used to be, seeing someone on TV was the unique thing because there was so few channels and you had to be one of a select few to be on it. It was so amazing to see. Now it's commonplace. You see everyone's on a screen. It's more often you'll see somebody on a screen than you will see them in real life because everyone's looking down. So to go see someone live now has become sort of the new TV show. It's like, that's the unique thing. Let's go see them live.
Yeah. But back to the real original.
Yeah, so now we're back to ancient Greece now. It's like people are back in the amphitheater watching your live podcast or whatever.
And now
your
it's
stand-up show.
And like it used to be like, I know like my manager said to me a couple of weeks ago, he was like, oh, like I was posting a lot of like my clips, 1 minute stand-up clips. He's like, but if you post it on Instagram, then you can't do it live. I was like, they want you to do it live. They actually get mad now. If that's what they know you from, they want you to do the bit like a singer. Like how the singer, they want you to sing that song. It's like, no, we want you to do that bit live for us because we saw it on the internet and that's one thing, but we want to see you physically do it live.
The other thing is that I think your manager might be missing is that they don't watch every medium all the time. Like if someone, you just launch your TikTok, for instance. Yeah. If some kid sees you on TikTok, he doesn't necessarily look you up on YouTube or listen to your podcast. Yeah. Like I used to, this was even like 10, 15 years ago. I used to write a lot about finance stuff. I would put the exact same article on Forbes, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, and even in a book where I can't take it down in a worst case scenario. not a single person ever said to me, didn't you just write this last week for Forbes? Zero people said. Editors didn't say it to me.
Yeah.
Readers didn't say it to me. Publishers didn't say it to me. No one knew that I was taking the exact same words, word for word, and just putting it everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's because people are stupid. It's just that they have their lane, and that's what you want to spread stuff around, because some people only watch TikTok and they're like, Instagram's over, or nah, I don't want. My kids will have one platform and they'll say, nah, Dad, don't do those other platforms. But they all have a different platform that they watch.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I get it.
What's interesting to me is that really concerns me, though, is like a lot of the audience, when you meet them, you meet audience members, the majority of them, they're also aspiring podcast or comedians. You're like, does anyone work anymore? Like, what are we all doing?
When I
It's like, what do you do? They're like, I got a podcast. I'm like, what is your podcast about? They're like, we met some girl last night, and she was like, it's about, and then she started talking, and I didn't know what she was talking about. When she explained what her podcast was, she was like, it's about health. You remember? She was like, it's
about health.
but it's not like about health. It's about like, we critique people who are about health, who tell you about health, who are doing it in a self-help way. We kind of talk about them.
Like, what?
And I'm going, what are you talking? I'm like, what kind of twilight zone are we living in that your podcast is a podcast about other people who have podcasts, who are podcasting self-help things to you so you can create a podcast and learn how to be a podcaster? I'm going like, this is getting
And it's got
wild.
25,000 views on it, 25,000 followers on Instagram.
This is just like a circle
That's funny.
jerk of we're trying to entertain each other.
Well, like I remember when I started stand-up in like 2009, Stand Up New York. It's one of the first places I did an open mic at. And I remember I was working as
it's a horrible open mic.
Oh yeah.
So-
No, but you want the shitty ones in the beginning. You
Okay.
really want those ones. That's what you want. You want it to be like 5 o'clock and there's 6 people in there, and only 6 people are other comedians that hate you and don't want to listen to you, because if you can make them laugh, it's either really dark, too dark for a regular audience, or it's just a good joke and like that I can keep it. But I remember going there, and I would get out of work at 3:30 from downtown, get up here by 4:15. The open mic started at 5, and there would be like a 10-person line. So you'd sign your name up, and maybe out for the whole 3 hours, 20 people would come to the open mic, and that was a lot. We were just in Los Angeles. They were saying now at the Comedy Store, and I'm sure it's the same at open mics here, there's a 5-hour wait to sign up at the Comedy Store. And it's like, so that was jarring to me, because like the amount of people that want to do this now, it's like what the fuck? How can everybody do this?
Well, they can't, because I think there's, like, take comedy as an example. I think there's 5,000 people who will list their profession on taxes as comedians, right? There's 50 Netflix specials a year, so that's only 1% of those. And then there's some podcasts that make money, but there's 2 million podcasts. The average podcast gets 200 downloads an episode. And so to your point, nobody's making money at any of these things. So they're just doing a lot of things and seeing what hits, and then they work at a candy store or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
So who knows?
Yeah, that's true too. We heard that too, that only 1% of all the podcasts in the world get over like 15,000 downloads or something like that.
Yeah, I would say even less than 1%. I mean,
Well, that brings us full circle to like the need for bullshit, because this bullshit employs so many people.
Yeah.
If you cut it down to brass tacks, you could probably cut 70% of every workforce now with automation, because just robots can do everything. And all you need is like entertainers and someone to hand you a slice of pizza, and that's it.
I mean, even before that though, like the last 9-to-5 job I worked at a big major corporation was in 1997. And I used to look around and think to myself, nobody here is actually doing any work. Like the average 8-hour workday, I would measure people like they would work maybe like a half hour to an hour and a half. Like the other times they were talking to their friends, they were talking on the phone. It's 3-hour lunches, cigarette breaks downstairs. There was people in general don't really work. They're just, and then I think the financial crisis came along, and every CEO was like, phew, now we have an excuse. Let's just fire everybody who we wanted to fire for the past 15 years.
Right.
And then ever since then, we've been kind of trying to come back from that. But yeah, a lot of people left the workforce. A lot of baby boomers retired. So I don't even know if it's automation. Like, and I feel like I talk
And
too much
also
about
overseas
Andrew Yang,
jobs,
but
like everything's like overseas.
everything's overseas and automated.
Yeah.
But Andrew Yang goes on about automation, and he mentions how 80 to 90 million people have left the workforce in the past 10 years. But a lot of that's just baby boomers deciding, screw it, I'm not gonna work anymore. I'm retiring earlier than I planned, so I'm gonna move to Kansas City or whatever. Kansas City's a great place. I'm not offending Kansas City, but I've never been to Kansas City. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Side story. I was at a dinner. It was like a networking dinner, and this guy comes up to me and starts talking, and he has like thick white hair. He's the only guy in the place in a really like nice suit, but it was like a blue suit and a red tie. And I said, you should be a politician. You look like a politician. And he's like, well, how did you know? Did someone tell you? And I'm like, no. And he says, well, I'm the governor of Kansas. And
Wow.
And so then he sits next to me and he's like, you should really consider Kansas. Like for, $300,000, you get a 6-bedroom house. And I'm like, all right, I'll consider it. But
Yeah, you could just tell.
That's what I'll do is consider it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing. You got to be in Kansas.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I'd rather be in these cities like in New York City and be around people than get the fucking house of my dreams in the middle of nowhere. I just don't want it.
Because, Chris says it all the time. We can pretend. We could sit around and pretend. We could sit here and do character pieces and pretend like other places matter besides New York City. But everything is a suburb of New York City.
The truth is
this is the
James.
center of the universe.
This is the truth. New York City and Italian food are really the only things that this human race cares about.
really
Okay?
it.
Because now it's like everything's up for debate. It's like I heard a guy saying the other day, oh, Houston's a comparable city to New York. I said, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Houston's a fine city. The whole thing's off the side of the highway. Then they said they like Vietnamese food. I said, are you fucking out of your mind? Vietnamese food? Yeah, it's fine. But every time I've eaten a Vietnamese sandwich, I'm like, you know what this needs? Sauce.
Yeah.
Then it'd be great.
You know what it needs? Food. Where's the food?
Where's the fucking food,
Where's
guy?
the food guy? It's grass.
Yeah.
I can't eat fucking grass and seaweed. I need a piece of meat.
I need Italian food.
It's Italian food. If the aliens came down, we're not serving them Korean barbecue.
No,
I
we're
like Korean
serving them
barbecue.
Italian food.
It's very good for once every 3-4 months. But if I had to go 4 days a week, I'm getting chicken parm. Everyone knows it. Let's stop
The
pretending.
most American food we have is an Italian food, and the most American presidential candidate we have is Andrew Yang because he was made in China. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get more American than that.
Truth to all. But like, do you ever have people come up to you and say, oh my God, you're paying this rent in New York City? For this, you could get X in Cleveland. And
Yeah, it's
Fuck
like,
that.
yeah, guy, I know you live in Coral Gables. That's fine. You're paying,
Yeah.
you're paying $100,000. You got a 50-room mansion. But guess what? There's also a chance an alligator can eat your baby.
Yeah.
So I don't want that
I don't
either.
want that.
I
which,
don't
by
want-
the way, could happen here too.
Yeah, it can happen here. But you know what?
Yeah.
There's alligators just crawling around like cats down there.
Yeah.
So I don't want that either. I don't want somebody who's on bath salts, attacking my child while he's going to school.
Right.
So I'll stay away from Florida, and you can keep your $100,000 40-room mansion.
Yeah.
I'll live in my shoebox in Bay Ridge because I live close to good Italian food.
It's what it is, and the rest of the country's on fire anyway.
It's all on
on fire and on fucking earthquakes, like Los Angeles. Like the country's on fire.
What the fuck are you doing in Los Angeles?
The city's on fire. Yeah.
God does not want people living there. It's built on false streams and a fault line. What are people doing?
No, we got to stay in New York City.
Yeah, and plus, Los Angeles was built by New Yorkers. That's the second most important city. Miami was built by New Yorkers. What city?
New York Jews, Miami.
New York Jews. And what?
And Los Angeles, by the way.
Yeah, it's like nobody cares. It's like, we could play pretend and make believe that people care that you want to write a story about being from Iowa City. Fine.
Yeah.
Nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, just fucking
Is it
wrestle
from New
and
York
grow
or
corn.
not?
Just wrestle and grow corn.
Yeah.
And we want you to wrestle because we want you in those tight clothes.
Yeah, because I just pushed down the gate. That's why I got big triceps. I'm just waiting for my dad to die to fully come out of the closet.
Yeah, but it's funny though. Vegas, Miami, and LA are the 3 most fun cities besides New York, and they were just all built by New Yorkers. They're colonies of New York. They're kind of outposts of New York.
Yeah, no, and the one thing about LA though, I don't like the 4 seasons. Like I hate winter.
Yeah.
I hate summer.
Yeah.
I just like to stay in the apartment and never move.
Yeah, I hate summer too.
Well, if
I
I
hate
lived
the
in this
heat.
apartment, I'd want to stay in here too.
Yeah.
You
This
got
is a fucking compound.
you got original Miros on the wall.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Potentially, we don't know. We
know.
This is a nice place. You could tell this is like 30 years ago, well, maybe 60 years ago. Some racist shit. But there were slaves in here. You know that the help was not white in an apartment like this when it was first built.
Well, that's why a lot of old New York buildings, there's small rooms as the penthouse. They call it the penthouse, but they're like these tiny one bedrooms because there was no air conditioning. So those were the hottest rooms in the summer.
Yeah.
So that's where they did in New York City. In a lot of these buildings that were older, put the help was in the quote unquote.
Right.
Now they call them the penthouses and they charge extra for it.
Interesting. That's a nice fact.
Yeah.
So it's a good fact. It's true in this building.
Yeah.
Because if you go to the top floors, it's all like the worst one bedroom, tiny like one bedroom apartments with enormous rents, like the biggest rents because they have the views.
Yeah.
So
Fuck
which is
that.
all bullshit.
Everyone
Like that's
wants-
the thing about views. Like if you look at something every day for 3 days in a row, you'll never see it again. Like you'll
Yeah.
look, it's invisible after that.
Smart.
Yeah, you kind of get spoiled and used to everything. But here's what happened, I think. Long Island was created. White people were trying to escape minorities, right? That's what happened. So everyone went to the suburbs. And then their kids realized, there's no fun out here. The minorities are where all the fun is. So all their kids came back into the cities. And that's what gentrification really is just those kids going I do not want to work at Panera Bread and hand out a buzzer. I want to go dance with black kids because that's where the good music is. I want to hang out with Puerto Ricans. I want to hang out with Jews. That's where the good shit is happening.
Oh, yeah.
Because Germanic people are psychopaths.
I know we are. We really are
All right? They
nuts.
tried to take over my country. I sleep with one eye open with this guy.
Yes.
We've shared a couple hotel rooms. One night I woke up, he was standing over my bed. That's a true story.
Yeah.
That is not a joke. It's a true story.
Yeah.
He was standing over my bed and doing this. I don't know
Yeah,
what this
I was
means.
working my
Some-
wrists out, and I like to smell people's feet when they sleep too.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what he does.
disturbed.
He was sniffing my feet. I woke up, I saw this blonde hair, big headed thing at the bottom of and I was sniffing my toes. And I
Yeah.
said, what are you doing? He goes, I don't know.
I'm disturbed.
He's disturbed.
I love, especially even my daughter's half Puerto Rican. It's like I agree with Giannis there 100%. It's like, white people, I was just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine, but I want to fiesta a little bit, I just want to have a good time. As soon as I saw my kid's mom, she was gorgeous. She was dancing around. She had like a tattoo in her tit. I was like, this is for me.
Yeah.
I love this.
I mean, they're good cerebral people, but let's be honest, we're all a little different, and they have no culture. They have
White
no
people
food.
we're talking about.
We're talking about Germanic Northern
people.
European.
Okay. Yeah.
They got no food, no culture, no music. We went to Germany together to hang out. We're doing shows there, by the way, which is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, we went to one of the premier German restaurants in Germany. It was hot dogs. It was
Yeah.
a hot dog.
Yeah.
They put a hot dog with sauerkraut and applesauce, and that was German cuisine. I said, I could have got this at Shea Stadium. This
Right.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, but we kind of dumb it down. I feel like they have like 27 types of sausage and this and that, and it's like which part of the cow and how you're mixing it with I don't even know how they make it. But here we just have this dumbed down like plastic wrapped hot dog.
Yeah.
To make it kosher or whatever. Yeah. So, and then even hamburgers too. Did you have any hamburgers there? Are they better there than
No,
here?
they're
they were
horrible.
fine. Yeah, it was
I mean,
just
it's
like
just
none
like-
of the food was really that good.
Yeah, they drink beer instead of eat.
The best food we had in Germany was Italian food. We
Yeah,
went
that
to
was-
an Italian restaurant.
yeah.
We watched a guy get drunk and punch a woman in the face
Yeah.
right outside our window, and then the guy got his ass kicked by some German security guard. It was pretty cool, and I had fettuccine hanging out of my mouth.
That's what it was.
I was like, I should help somebody, but I was like, this pop
That
is
was your
good.
TV. You thought you were watching TV, but it was just like the drapes were open.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
a true statement to say that the best meal we had in Bavaria was the worst Italian meal we've ever had in our life.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the best meal we had in Germany.
Yeah, it was really good food. But remember, it was only tasted good because at that time, that girl from here had texted me her tits. So we looked at her tits and we were like, oh, this pretzel tastes
Yeah,
better now.
so
we were just looking at
Yeah,
boobs.
You need that to help
Oh,
you.
do we have to cut that part out? Your wife? We just took a
I don't think she listens to James Altucher's podcast.
She does.
You'd be surprised
yeah, you'd
how
be
many people on their commute to work.
Oh, she better start. She made a dumb decision by buying that house.
You're gonna get a death threat from my wife.
Oh, yeah.
Don't ever tell my husband that buying a house was a bad fucking idea.
Yeah, she's like, it's my fucking dream. I'm from Long Island.
No,
She's
that
from Long Island, which, by the way, obviously means that she's had a nose job.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
That's
and
what
her dad
happens
has
when
money.
you're from. Yeah, when you're from Long Island, there's three. When a dad knows that his kid is going to be a girl, he just chalks it up. He's like, I'm going to have to pay for a sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to pay for a bat mitzvah, even if she's not Jewish, and I'm going to have to pay for a nose job.
Yeah.
That's just
If
Long
you're
Island.
a Long Island white girl, these three things are true. You've had a nose job, your dad has money, and you're voting for Trump. That's what it is. You're voting to the right.
well, secretly telling everyone, oh no, Hillary.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. I mean, we were even last night when we were performing at the Jane Hotel show. It's like all these rich people, and I was like talking about Trump a little bit, and they're getting like all tight. If it's like, I know you're fucking all voting for him anyway in secret, you fucking liars. I know what's going on here.
No, it's funny because I actually was doing something at the Broadway Comedy Club 2 days ago, and I did a Trump thing, and I was surprised how many people from the back were clapping and laughing and this whole thing. And then I found out later they all worked for like a major hedge fund manager. There was like 20 people in the audience. It was their night out, and they all worked for like this big hedge fund manager.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, this is odd that they would get that kind of response.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I think there's who do you think's going to win in 2020?
Oh God,
I mean,
Trump
I think
is
it's going to
gonna
be a landslide for
Jesus.
Johnny T.
Because it's not really about the issues anymore. Now it's about personality.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's
and like
kind of broken that seal. He's like, it's almost like Ric Flair as president.
Watching-
Like, after everything he says, he could go, woo!
Yeah.
And like people would go, yeah.
Dude, when I was watching a DNC thing, like this was maybe 3-4 months ago, Andrew Yang was on, and they asked Andrew Yang, one of these debates, they asked Andrew Yang about what he would do if he was president. And he, whether he could pass it along or not, he was like, I think we should start moving inland because of the climate change. I think we should start giving people a national salary because there's no jobs left. And all these concise, he was saying something presidential, and he was like, I'm trying, this is my plan. You could hear a pin drop. I mean, all the 1,000 people, nope, nothing. Then I think it was Gillibrand, who I know is out now, but I think they were like, in your rebuttal, Senator Gillibrand, whatever. And she's like, first thing I get to the White House, if I get to the White House, I'm going to Clorox the Oval Office because Trump's disgusting. Place went nuts.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what?
It's all
You
about
just
dicks.
lost me now.
Yeah, it's like watching.
Now I'm out.
It's like
You
watching
know?
an episode of Nick Cannon's Wildin' Out now. It's
Yeah.
like who can diss who the That's why it's going to be like him. And the only chance on the left, I think, is it's got to be what's her name?
Buttigieg?
No,
Is that the only
girl
girl
who hates
running?
Amazon. I'm just blanking on her name.
Kyla Ocasio-Cortez?
Kyla Ocasio-Cortez. It's
Yeah,
got-
she's a monster.
yeah.
she's got the personality. She's got the flair. She can, she's got the gusto.
She leans into it. If they say,
Yeah.
"Oh, we caught you dancing," she'll just start dancing for the cameras.
She'll start dancing,
just
yeah.
like Trump. He'll lean into it.
Right.
Like if they say, Scott Adams, the guy who created Dilbert, he wrote an article back in I think it was April 2015 that Trump was definitely going to win, and he based it on one thing. When Megyn Kelly asked him, "Is it true, you call all women like fat and slobs and this?" And he was like, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." He wrote the article. Scott Adams wrote the article the next day. Trump's the next president, and he was right. It was like then now he's famous for calling Trump like a year and a half in advance.
Yeah.
And what was his reasoning? He just thought like he was unapologetic, and that's what was what the
He thought
taste-
his way. It was his way of like. He kind of started noticing then that Trump was using all these techniques common in hypnosis, and then he thought Trump was like the best hypnotist he had ever seen. So
Interesting.
he thought that Trump is like trained in like mass hypnosis. This is, Scott's been doing Dilbert for 30 years. He's the most syndicated cartoonist ever.
Yeah.
But he's also been trained in hypnotism. He's like, oh, I started noticing everything Trump does is like these pattern disrupts to kind of change the language of
Right.
how we elect people. So
Right.
that's why he started saying Lion Jeb with an apostrophe. Like no one's ever used that phrase in politics before. So he started calling everybody names that were visual and had never been used in politics before.
Pocahontas.
Yeah, Pocahontas. So you'd start like remembering. That's the only thing you would remember. He would basically train our brains to remember only these one thing.
Interesting.
Who do you think's going to win, James?
I think
Interesting.
Trump because as Sky Adams also said, I hate to be quoting him on every single thing, but it's not like Trump versus any Democrat. It's Trump versus a human. So who's going to win? Like Biden can't actually say a word out loud, or he's like, he's like one step away from going too far into a woman's hair.
Right.
Bernie Sanders, we don't know if he's dead or alive right now. Elizabeth Warren, she did legitimately raise money for Harvard because she was a quote unquote person of color, and she's the whitest person on the planet.
Yeah.
Who else?
I know.
Andrew Yang is just scaring everyone with automation. So, and by the way, here's my problem with Andrew Yang. If he's going to rule the world, and he's constantly complaining. They never call on me on the debates. Just raise your hand. Interrupt the other people like everyone else does. You can't rule the world if you can't interrupt Bernie Sanders.
Right.
And so who else is there?
Right.
I know. And I feel too, like even, like last time in 2016, because like New York, obviously, and New York, LA, they're like little islands off the coast of real America. I was performing in Indianapolis 2 weeks before, and I had done like some like Trump joke. I forgot what it was, but I remember people were like pissed. Like it not only did it bomb, people were walking out and they were like really fucking, love Trump. And then if you said anything about Hillary, people like, yeah, they kind of would be like, yeah, that's fine. So like when I went back to New York, I was like, I got a good feeling he's going to win. But then when you sit around with the comedians, they're like, there's no chance he's going to win. How could he win? Because you're just really feeling New York City. But the middle of the country, which is the only one that counts, was like, no, this guy's talking to us. So I get it. And I just feel like nothing's changed. I feel like it's even gotten worse. Like I know certain members of my family who are more liberal, or I would say on the fence when that Joe Biden stuff happened with the one of the women in my family. She was like, why is like, so what? He fucking touched a woman. It's not like he raped anyone. She's like, I'm sick and tired of everyone being deemed a rapist because they flirt a little bit. She's like, fuck them. Fuck the Democrats. And I'm sure she's going to vote for Trump now. So it's like, it sometimes this shit backfires when you try to like, make everyone like this bad person for doing like kind of normal things. You know?
Yeah, well, look at Al Franken.
Sure.
Now the reason Kristen Gillibrand's out of the race is because she was leading the charge that Al Franken should resign from the Senate. Now they all regret it because he was probably the only honest, decent guy there. And I'm still not even sure what he did. Like he did something in a USO
he was,
tour,
like pretending to
in an entertainment show.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
and
like
the woman
everybody saw the
herself
picture.
didn't even care.
Yeah.
Right, like in everybody, the entire world, it was a USO tour, like for America, like where he volunteered to like perform in
Nobody
Iraq.
cares about that. Yeah. He got caught. He was a Me Too casualty. Yeah.
I think because of the internet now too, like people, like things are happening. Like, I just saw the other day that, like Andrew Yang's wife came out and said that she was like molested by a gynecologist, and that's all sad and horrible. But like, that they're putting it out now for political reasons, and people see through it now. People that I saw when he put it out, all the comments were like, "This is political bullshit." They were saying the same thing, like, "Sorry for your wife, but like, this is going to make me vote for you, guy." So it's like it's all been like everything is for show now. So now it's like there's no values at all anymore. So then that leads me to believe, well, then Trump will win again.
Yeah, and so the question is, what's not political? What's not a scam? Like, so we've discussed home ownership's a scam, college is a scam, most jobs are scams, all politics are scams, all wars were marketing campaigns just so we could send 18-year-olds to kill people.
Yeah.
Like if you think of it, for 18-year-olds, the two choices are kill people overseas because we don't want less people there and more people here, or get into debt to the U.S. government. Like, so the U.S. government can make some money.
The only thing that's not a scam, because I know my mother's a fan of this podcast, is the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is pure, Mom, and I love you, and I'll see you at church on Sunday.
Well, I think ultimately, it's not all one thing or the other. And that's kind of the thing that I think that's really been lost in our education system, and I think that's ultimately why we're going to fail as an empire, is because the reason why we're propping up these idiots now and we need to be entertained by cats farting and whatnot is because it's our education system has collapsed. I mean, it's just shit. And the liberal arts brand of it, which is the only part I know because I'm no scientist or anything.
Because you're a cuck.
Has just become everything's become activist. It's like because everyone is trying to be a star.
Right.
Because that's what this country became about, some sort of becoming famous. So it's like everyone is interjecting themselves in whatever they're saying. And so it's no longer about what actually happened. It's more about like me telling you what happened.
Right.
Teachers are doing it. Everyone's doing it. So it's not everything is a scam. There's parts of everything that's a scam, but a lot of this stuff is necessary. Banks, all this stuff, it has very many positive things. Wars, a lot of good things happen from wars.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, but well, it's
seems like
population control. What are you going to do?
Seems like there's way more followers too now than leaders. I feel like everybody's just like, they're not doing the research at all. Like you'll see somebody, on Twitter, I saw this guy talking about vaccines, and if you get your kids vaccinated, you're crazy, and he's just tweeting out these articles that somebody else wrote, and then I look at his bio and he works for FedEx. It's like, what are you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
deliver the packages.
Well, we had RFK Jr. on the podcast, and we still don't know.
Wow, you've really dropped down for us.
Jesus Christ.
No, but here's the thing.
Christ.
We don't.
Coming up next after RFK Jr., Chris Stefano,
The history hyenas?
Giannis Pupis.
No, but here's the thing. I was really wondering beforehand what was going to happen if he goes on a 15-minute rant about vaccines, because he's really anti-vaccine. Yeah. And you can't argue with somebody because they've got, no matter what you say, there's like 17 arguments that they've spent 20 years studying, which you can't, even if it doesn't make sense, even if you know what the truth is, they have some agenda or they're crazy or whatever. So we don't even know what we're going to do with this podcast because he went on this 15-minute rant that was just, when I fact check it later, everything he says is wrong. It's just insane that it's so clear that diseases are eradicated after the vaccines are introduced. And he was like, no, they're not tested by the FDA, which is not true. And he's going on and on and on. But again, he has a whole foundation. He gets popular. He gets, married to famous actresses because of this. And who knows what his agenda is.
A group of followers. It's like my dad has an 8th grade education. Like he was in and out of jail. Like he's in 8th grade, truly like not, street smart guy, but not academically smart at all. And when Twitter started to get big or come out in 2009, 2010, because I remember I would just started comedy. We were sitting in Staten Island, and he was like, "You see this Twitter bullshit that's going around?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have one?" I said, "No, not yet, but I'll probably get one." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "This is going to be a big problem for our country." I was like, "Why?" He goes, "Because not everyone's supposed to have a voice." He was like, "The worst thing you could do in this country is let everybody talk."
Yeah.
And I was like, he's not wrong.
No, it's totally right.
And since we're all living in a period of extended youth now, like, Everyone doesn't want to grow up or like sacrifice or do anything like that. So now the way we kind of like consume things and espouse things as kids. It's like very childish views of things where you just go like the Korean War was bad or, Vietnam was bad. It's like, well, there's a lot of, it's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's like the Korean War, was it bad? I mean, like, why don't you go ask people in South Korea if it was bad?
Yeah,
right.
Because they'll tell you it was great that we held that line. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's all perspective. It's like,
cancel Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay, then we don't have a country.
Yeah.
He's
like-
the one that, what do you want me to do?
What we did to Japan was bad. It's like, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
But you know what Japan did to China?
Yeah, you ever heard of
was
the Rape of
really
Nanking?
bad. Yeah, I mean, it was really, really, it gets overshadowed, but it was like, they did a lot of boo-boo.
It's like, why did you drop a nuclear bomb on Japan? That's wrong. But, Japan was bayoneting babies and spit roasting them, fire roasting them in front of their Chinese parents. So is that okay?
They did a couple boo-boos.
Yeah.
They left a couple boo-boos in China. So it's like.
That's why I don't eat sushi.
Yeah.
They're still the enemy to me.
So
No, I was going to question on Italian
No disrespect to the guy over there, even though I know you're not Japanese.
I was going to question on Italian food. I put up sushi with Italian food, but okay, I see where you're
I
coming
love
from now.
sushi.
Yeah.
I love sushi.
No, I like sushi too.
Sushi's number 2 for me. I go Italian first.
That's sushi. Well, because
too.
you're an enemy.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
The state.
but look, if you're going keto, Italian food's hard. Like you gotta have
it is
pasta.
hard.
You're right.
Pizza's
You're right.
hard.
I know. That's why I just rather have jiggly tits and eat Italian food.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what we talk about, and this is what we love talking to guys like you about, because it's like because you talk to some of the younger people, and they're like RFK Jr., where like you can talk to them and they just don't care. Their professor told them something, and that's what they're going to go on. Where it's like, but there's so much more to these conversations.
Well, now it's like if you're a professor and some kid, like you're in a history class and some kid goes like, it's like fucking white people are racist. The professor can't go, well, there's more to, you can't just, because then they're going, you're racist. And you're going, okay, here's an A. I don't want any trouble. Here's a fucking A. You're right. 100% of European people killed 100% of Native Americans. They've enslaved 100% of the Africans.
Smallpox didn't have anything to do with it.
Africans never did anything wrong. Asians never did anything wrong. It's only white people who have some evil gene. You're right. And they're going, thank you. Give me my A. And now I'm going to move to San Francisco and fucking tweet at people.
Yeah, now I'm going to go do fucking open mics at the Comedy Store.
It's this fucking fantasy of activism that has become the world.
I mean, even comedy.
It's enabled digitally. Now
Like-
it's like he said, everyone has this voice, and they just fucking masturbate to each other. And sorry, I did the motion that was for the people who were watching.
that was for
it's
you.
a circle
We
jerk.
get 3 video views and a couple 100,000 audio views, so it's okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
But it's like even these comedy specials, like the extremely liberal ones, like they're not funny. They're TED Talks.
Yeah.
It's like I watch some of these specials to put my daughter to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like this is brutal, this bullshit. And it's like, what do you? And it's like I know comedy is subjective, but it's like
Not that subjective.
not that subjective.
Well, let
I'm
me
like,
ask you this.
I can tell you this isn't funny. Yeah.
But like, how many Netflix specials? I hate to trash Netflix, but here we go.
Yeah.
How many Netflix specials have you actually watched?
No,
Like,
not
many.
many.
I watched in the past.
I watched
year,
Chappelle.
Yeah, I watched Chappelle, and I just watched Ronnie Chang's, and I don't know of any others.
I
that
watched
I've
Michelle Wolf's too. But she's a friend of mine.
I watched her show until Netflix canceled it.
Yeah.
But speaking of you mentioned climate change. My kids are obsessed with climate change, but they focus on they take that focus and then focus on, well, Dad, no more plastic straws. We got to get metal straws. Right. And you know how disgusting metal straws are, and like you have to disinfect the inside, and to make a metal straw is like 10,000 plastic straws. But January 3rd, when Iran was in the news, they didn't care about climate change at all. They just want to know if they were going to be drafted. Right. So it's like people don't actually care unless they're arguing.
Ask a 19-year-old kid in Syria if they'll use a plastic straw. They'll fucking use whatever it takes. They just want food,
right?
Because they're getting chemical gas attack. They don't care about what bathroom goes for the gender. They're like, these are first world problems.
And plastic straws is the least of the problem with climate change.
Right.
It's like we got to get off fucking gas.
Yeah.
Well, and then everybody's. First off, nobody complains about China because China's double the pollution or whatever of us. But then like someone asked me in this Q&A, I gave a talk, and then someone asked me in a Q&A, why do you never talk about climate change on your podcast unless you're talking to the history hyenas now?
Yeah.
There it is.
Said, and I had to think about it because I answered, I actually don't give a shit because there's only so many things you can care about. Like I care about my kids, I care about my family, I care about my friends and podcast and my own work. You can't care about every issue, particularly if you're not, it's impossible.
Right.
And also everyone says, well, 97% of scientists agree. Well, that doesn't mean anything. 97% of scientists in 1800 didn't think you should wash your hands before delivering babies. So,
Yeah.
well, what do you
Right.
don't know. No one knows the science. And okay, maybe we're getting warmer, maybe we're not. I've seen arguments on both sides. I don't know anything about it. I'm not researching it. I actually don't give a shit about it.
And I think you hit it on the head. I talk about this a lot in my stand-up, where I'm like, now that I'm a father and I have a 4-year-old daughter, it's like my world's gotten so much smaller. My child is my priority. So I care about certain issues, but really not all of them. But now that I think it's a direct correlation, people delaying having children, because now they'll say, 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 40. Like our parents, my mother had me, she was 20 years old, and that was normal. And I'm sure our parents had us when we were extremely young, where now I had my daughter at 30 and people were telling me, oh, you're too young to be a dad. So it's like, what is that happening? We're growing up, we're learning all this information, and we have we're sitting around with our roommates, in our 30s and 40s, just trying to fix the world, where it's like, when you have a child, it's like, I'm aware now. Like I see it. I'm like, yeah, plastic straws versus paper straws. The paper straws don't work. So my daughter, she needs to get the liquid into her mouth. So the paper straws are not going to cut it for me. I just give her a plastic straw. I don't care, because the priority is to get the kid's nutrition into her fucking face. But I get it if you're some guy that's 60 years old and have roommates, you're going to be like, yeah, if you use plastic straws, you're in ISIS. Of course. You're not a functioning. I don't even count those people as society members. I'm like, whatever you say, I couldn't care less, because I got real problems. I don't have the fucking energy to get to the protest, because I have a 4-year-old daughter that I'm dealing with every night. You don't have any of these problems. You can be up till 3 o'clock in the morning and make believe you're a fucking poet when you work at Starbucks. I don't give a fuck.
Also, think about it. Like when you have a kid, that's when I first started to feel real fear. Like, how am I going to pay for this kid? Yeah. Like, how am I going to make money? How am I going to survive and do well? And then every time I would, I had ups and downs. Every time I would go down, I was thinking, oh my God, these kids are going to die now because I can't afford them. You don't have time even to think about these issues. Like, you just want to make sure they're okay. And even then you can't make them too okay, or they get spoiled or whatever.
Sure.
It's hard. And I'm not going to, I get food delivered to me so I could sit on this couch and binge watch whatever.
Right.
I'm not going to solve climate change. I cannot do it.
Yeah, I
believe,
get that.
I believe, I don't know. I'm not a climate scientist. So I just believe, like, if there's a consensus out there and that's what scientists are saying, it's like, yeah, I believe it. But it's like, yeah, stop yelling at us about it. What are we going to do? What am I going to do about it?
Right,
so
figure it out.
I'm not even saying it doesn't exist. Like, maybe it does, maybe
Make
it doesn't.
Make a vaccine for it. I don't know. You know what I mean? Put it in. I don't know what you do. I don't know what fucking voodoo you guys do that made like polio vaccines and technology, but fucking do it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Stop yelling at us. It's like, just let the market figure out a better straw. Because the paper straws, they don't work. So make a straw out of, like, I don't know, fucking cat urine or something. But it's like, do something else.
Yeah.
But they're just yelling at us. And then the other side, those people annoy me who are going like, these scientists are shills. They're going like, it's like, who are you? Like, I work at fucking Home Depot. It's like, you don't know either. So it's like, if the people are researching this, I'm going to put my money on the people who research this. Because if you look back in history, it's never really the scientists that are trying to, like, pull one up on us. It's usually an industry that has an interest in prolonging whatever it is that they're discovering. So it's like, I don't know, because I'm a fucking idiot, but I'm gonna bet on the scientists are saying, what the scientists are saying has more truth to it than what Gary Sixer Niner from Michigan, Wisconsin tweeted at me. They're like, oh, you believe these scientists are doing it for the funding? It's like, all right, I guess
Yeah, sure.
whatever it is.
But I was looking at this book. I don't know why someone gave me this book to look at. It's written in 2007, so kind of a little bit before all the social media really took off. And it was a book about how to be a sports referee. And this guy was saying, so Steve, I outsource all my sports conversations to Steve.
Yeah.
But
James Altucher fucks. You know that. If he's reading books about sports referees, that guy has sex every fucking night, and you know that. You know that about James Altucher.
Could be true. I don't know. I'm knocked out every night by my wife, so who knows? But this guy was saying about being a good sports referee, even from a legal point of view, do not argue with spectators. And I thought this was a fascinating point for now, because everybody on Twitter is like a spectator. To your point, like, okay, let the scientists talk about it or industries figure it out. But then all the spectators are arguing. And he said, whatever you do, the whole page is, if you take one thing from this book, and he puts it all in caps, do not argue with spectators. And he's just talking about football games. And he says, watch a referee who makes a controversial call when all the fans are screaming at him. It's as if he's deaf, as if he doesn't hear at all. But he could be totally talking about 2020, Twitter or Facebook. Like, everybody's a spectator on climate change, Iran. Suddenly on my Facebook feed, everybody was an Iranian general on January 4th. Like, you didn't know anything. I didn't even know who Soleimani was on January 2nd.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, oh.
Everyone was like, what Trump did is bad. You're like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You just hate Trump so much for your own identity that you're just, whatever the guy does, you're going like, it's got to be bad. You're like, who knows? You don't know.
Yeah, we
you
just
have
don't
no
know.
idea.
Yeah, you're not privy to this information at all. I feel the same exact way as you. And you're like one of the first, obviously besides Giannis, that it's like publicly I can talk to. And I'm like, yeah, I fucking agree with you. Where I'm like, these people don't know what, they're all followers. Yeah. They're just following what they think this identity politics is supposed to follow. And it's like, it's so bullshit to me.
Yeah, because I went and read like some other feeds from like some experts who are like, on the ground, like muckraking journalists who are in the Arab world, and they did these amazing threads on why he was such a dangerous guy. And I was going like, that's totally opposite from what I'm hearing in the mainstream media over here.
Yeah.
That's kind of anti-Trump. And so I'm going like, you guys don't know. You guys are hearing 10th, 20th hand on who this guy was. And these people are telling you, hey, this is who he was, blah, blah. And I'm going like, this is a lot more believable. At the end of the day, like everyone's got their spin on it. And you just have to use your own critical thinking and common sense street smarts to figure out which one of these things has more truth. Nobody has it anymore because it's too safe of a world.
Right.
It's too safe of a world.
Or not
Nobody
think
can
about it at all.
Yeah.
Like,
or just don't.
Yeah, why? If I'm not going to Iran to fight a battle, and if there's no nuclear weapons happening here, I really don't have to think about it.
Yeah,
like,
don't.
I'm not gonna.
But then, how will
change
you
anything.
look cool to your friends, though?
Right. Yeah. Well, then I have very few friends. Like, they're all, they're all right in this room. So.
You're good. But that's why people do it. I think is because they want to look good to that group. It's a virtue signal.
Sure,
they want to be like,
signal.
I would never ever approve of anything Trump did because he's a monster.
Right.
And he was the monster the first day in office. And Hillary was the white knight in a white fucking business suit.
Yeah, with hot sauce.
Yeah, it's like, was she really? That just shows you how bullshit this world is. It's like, all right, Trump said some horrible things. Unbelievable entertaining guy. He said some horrible things, meaning like some sexist things or whatever. Yeah. Maybe let's just say he even was like a little overly aggressive with a woman. Very bad. Very bad. But Obama, who I thought was a good president overall, net, fucking leveled countries.
Yeah.
And killed people.
Yeah.
Hillary, fucking Syria, it's all her fucking fault. She's killing everybody.
Yeah.
She's fucking killing people.
I know.
And it's like, she's great, but he's bad because he said some weird or bad stuff.
Well, it's the entertainment world.
I mean, what are your priorities?
Yeah. Well, because the media
How much does it mean to you to be in a gang that you just don't have any thinking skills anymore, you know?
Right. Well, it's because the media, I mean, is controlled, right? It's a liberal media that mostly controls it all now.
Yeah, he's looking at you going, I know what you're getting at. I know what you're getting at.
So it's like,
yeah,
no,
here it
like,
comes with the German face. The
but
Jews control the media.
They control your people. Yeah. So it's
on both sides, though.
Yeah.
The Jews are everywhere.
I know. They're everywhere. And that's got to stop. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
You guys get it so bad. I mean, it's nobody I feel worse than the Jews. No matter what happens in the world, somehow the finger just fucking finds its way like fucking the magic bullet that killed JFK. It just kind of go. You could be like in Chinatown beating a Chinese person and going, I did it. They go, no, he did it because he's a Jew.
Yeah.
It's true. Look at New York City right now. It's like every single day there's some like violent attack. No one's.
I know.
I mean, you know what it is? You guys don't proselytize. So it's like, I realize that
we don't want anybody.
Yeah, people hate you for the same reason I hate the seller because they won't book me. You know what I mean? So it's like they always blame Jews because Jews don't want you. And you always hate the thing that you don't want because it's narcissistic projection. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, and you know what's funny? He's like these, Tim Dillon, this is to steal another Tim Dillon thing.
We're just going to keep stealing Tim Dillon.
Yeah, he goes,
this is like a pseudo episode with just Tim Dillon ranting.
Yeah, he goes, these neo-Nazis are so fucking stupid. They don't even know, they're angry at the wrong people. He's like, the Chinese control you. That's who it is.
And it's
He's
true.
like, you're going, the Jews are replacing us. No.
No,
Chinese.
one of my friends was trying to sell his apartment, nice, beautiful apartment, and he can't get the money, he can't get the deal he wants. And he said his realtor told him, like not sugarcoat, he told him word for it. He said, you can't get the price you want because there's not enough Chinese money in this building. There needs to be more Chinese money that comes in here where they're buying things for the higher price, then you can get what you
totally
want.
Totally true.
Chinese money, if it's not in the building, you can't sell.
Particularly in New York City, particularly in Manhattan, it's all, that's the whole thing holding up real estate prices right now, according to every real estate agent. So
yeah, Chinese money.
Yeah.
What can you do?
They've kind of they're holding up the whole like market. Like it's like a lot of those buildings are just vacant.
Because
Right?
it's a way for people to escape their money, to get their money out of here, and then eventually they can get out as well, and then send their kids to Georgetown or Harvard or whatever, and
Is
they
it
have
also
to have a place to live
is
here.
it also a way to hide their money for
Yeah, yeah.
taxes?
Hide their
that-
money from
yeah.
the Chinese, and
Right.
if they're ever persecuted, and there's always government shifting around who's in
Sure.
favor, who's not. So, yeah.
That's the like that's
what
the
it is.
huge flaw of socialism that nobody just wants to admit. Like as adults, it's like I socialism. I think is a very necessary, check on capitalism. I think it you got to balance things out. But like these socialists that are just going like they're just utopian. It's like this is not a new story, and it's like you do know what the nature of a human is, right? It's like we are selfish. It's just what it is. And nobody wants to pay taxes. Even the most liberal people, when they go into their accountant's office, what are we all trying to do? Figure out a way to
IRS,
tax evade.
I know we have a payment plan. Don't worry. I'm going to get to it. I know I'm a couple
We're all
months
trying
late
to
right
tax
now.
evade. That's why Greece collapsed. It's like everyone wants the benefits of socialism, but nobody wants to fucking pay for it. It's like I want my free healthcare, but I don't want to be taxed for it. Well, then it's like this isn't going to work. Then you got to chip in to maybe get those benefits if you get sick. Nobody wants to do that shit because we're too selfish. Let's just stop pretending. Everyone's pretending. I don't want to pretend anymore.
But look at like Brexit. That was the reason the British wanted out in the first place. No one really focused on kind of the economics of what Brexit was about. And everybody said, no, this is about fascism. This is about,
Immigrants.
yeah. But they didn't want to pay Greece's debt down. So it's like, keep us out of that. It's not our problem.
Right.
And yeah, okay, it would be nice if everybody could help everybody else, but sometimes you can't do that.
They didn't want to do that. And I think there was a little they wanted to kind of close that immigrant faucet. They were like, yeah, there's a leaky faucet. Let's just close that. Yeah.
But then you would see France getting out. Like all these countries are. Well, who knows? The EU might fall apart.
Yeah, that's an experiment that you're kind of going like, I'm surprised it's made it this long. I mean, Europe is just like, it's tribal, man. Europe is
we
like
don't even want
tribal.
immigrants from there. Look, Canada just announced Prince Harry can't move to Canada.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Oh, he
we're just-
can't?
No,
Hilarious.
the biggest paper in Canada said it was against the law for a royal to move to Canada. That's because it's not a monarchy and they're avoiding the British monarchy. Their claim is that it's unconstitutional in Canada for Prince Harry to move there. And Prince Harry, meanwhile, says he doesn't want to move to the U.S. until Trump's out. So where's that guy going to go?
Yeah.
He's got $50 million and he's a royal family. He can't
He's
move to
going to
any
go
country.
right back to the fucking Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, but they don't want him either.
Yeah.
Like I kind of think that was a whole kind of weird play where it seems like Prince Harry wanted out, but they're really trying to say he wanted out, so later on we can kick Prince Andrew out of the royal family too. So this was kind of like their excuse, like, we're just going to trim things down.
Yeah.
Prince Harry's not in, so maybe none of the brothers of anybody are in.
I think they should kick them all out and stop paying for it. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
You guys are still playing dress up? I mean, why are taxpayers okay with... I used to do shows in Scandinavia, and I would probe the Scandinavians who I was friends with. I was going like, so why is this... What are you guys doing here? And that's your queen and your king? I was like, what are you guys doing here? Is there a princess around? And they're going like... And they would rationalize. They would go, they're good for the country. They act as ambassadors. And I'm going like, listen, guy, don't ever criticize America again for going to war or anything like that. Because, we're like, if it wasn't for us going to war to get you your oil to play your little dress up game, you wouldn't be able to play this dress up game. You're spending your tax dollars on this because we spend the tax dollars to do that for you.
Yeah.
Because if you had to spend tax dollars for the military like we have to do, because it's not a perfect world, you wouldn't be able to fucking pay your king and queen $300,000 a year to inbreed. So that's weird.
300,000, 15 million a year. Like it's,
15 million?
it's
$300,000
insane.
a month.
I mean,
Yeah.
what are they doing? And
week.
they rationalize. Have you ever spoken to one of them? Like
To
talk
a
about
king?
to one of the citizens of those countries. It's like talk about conditioning. Like they defend it and they go like they represent our country and they're going, guy, nobody out, and I call everyone guy, girls, everyone.
Everyone's guy.
Yeah, we call all foreigners guy. So I said, listen, guy. I said nobody in any country when they think about Denmark is thinking about your royal family. Nobody even knows who they are. Okay, the only people we know if they are is the British ones because they're in our tabloids once in a while, and that's just like fat housewives who have short haircuts and neck fat, who have nothing to do all day, are reading about that. Nobody cares about that. They don't represent your country at all. David Beckham is more of a representative of England than whoever Prince Victoria is. Am I wrong?
No.
Am I crazy?
That's why it's so funny that because there's no news anymore, right? Iran sort of disappeared. I don't even know like what was it nuked? I have no idea what happened. It's not in the newspaper anymore. And Megxit, Meghan Markle leaving England. That's the only thing in the newspaper right now.
Yeah, that and the impeachment.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's the
It's
impeachment.
like, but that's going to go nowhere.
Yeah,
anywhere
neither
too.
one of those things are fucking going anywhere or significant. That's the only significant thing. Why do I don't care about Meghan Markle. What was she, like a C-list star? She was like an actress on some TBS show. What the fuck do I care who she's getting dicked down by?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what she's doing. I don't give a fuck what he's doing. I was criticizing him on Twitter and they started going, he actually has done stuff. He was in the military. I was like, you really fucking think that guy was doing the duty with the other fucking soldiers, that they didn't pull him aside when he ran? There's that one camera scene where he runs. Yeah. You don't think that was orchestrated? You saw that? You see
I
that
didn't
one?
see it, but I can imagine
anyone see
explosions
that?
in the background.
You saw it, right?
Like a thriller movie.
And they just kept replaying it over and over as if to convince me that Harry's going to put himself in fucking harm's fire.
The fucking Michael Bay was there directing.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most canned footage you will ever see in your life, where there's like something happens, like he's deployed, right? It's so funny. He's deployed, and then a bunch of British soldiers are running in the background, and he just goes like this, and he rips off his mic, and he just runs. And by the way, he runs like this, like a fucking ballerina about to do a run. He runs like that because the kid's never had a moment of male physical violence in his life.
Yeah.
And then they cut, they just fade out, and they're like, he's just one of the guys.
Sure.
He's a normal guy. I'm like, no, he's an inbred kid.
It's true.
Yeah, he's like he's pointless. He doesn't have a job. This is like ridiculous.
Well, that's just it. Like he says, he's going to go for financial independence, and he's giving up his sovereign salary as a prince. Yeah. But he's keeping his dad has some money set aside. He's keeping that salary, which by the way happens to be $3 million a year,
which is the people's money. That's taxpayer money.
Right.
Yeah.
But beyond that, he's going to go for financial independence. From his $21 million compound that he just bought in Canada. So,
it's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing of like, and I think this is what comedians do so well. And I think this is why these are voices people listen to, like your podcast, Joe Rogan's, others, is that you ask why. Why is this happening? What is the real narrative? And it's usually ridiculous and absurd.
Especially that is stupid. I mean, it's like feudalism was an oppressive system. It's an oppressive, bad system. It has like a pretty name on it because they were wearing hats and shit like that. But those people were tyrants and despots and dictators. And then you're keeping it. It's almost like we're going like, Hitler, the whole Hitler thing, he had some bad things. But let's just keep a Führer. To represent the country. To represent Germany, let's just keep a Führer. And we'll walk around in a mustache and just do this. And it'll just be a costume show. And you can go visit and take pictures with tourists. I mean, what the fuck are you people doing? And then they criticize us when, you ever go to like a soccer game in Europe?
Yeah.
And then they criticize us for being
They'll
racist?
throw bananas at black
there's
players.
There's a whole neo-Nazi section at a fucking football game. They're going like, and you're going, who's that? They're going, that's the Conservative Party. You're going, that's the Conservative Party? They should all be fucking in prison. What are you doing?
Yeah.
They're all going like this and they're throwing bananas on the field. And then they're like, America, you guys are fucking animals. It's like, yeah, keep running your mouth. Keep running your fucking mouth, and we're gonna. The boys are gonna show up, and we're gonna take over your country too.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, before this podcast, I was saying to everybody, how am I going to get Giannis to talk a little bit more? Like, it's really
how am I going to get Giannis to have half people, my fan base, not like him? I just did it.
This is the character who I've coined Yanni Long Days, and this is what I mean. This is what I have to deal with day in and day out. When he's on these rants, a lot of times I'll see it on Twitter. I always cite the one.
Yeah.
One time I woke up, it was 2:30 in the morning. I woke up to pee. I saw him. He tweeted out, "The wheels of history are greased in violence." And
greased in blood. They're greased in blood. Yeah.
The wheels of history are greased with blood. And I said, Yanni Long Days. I got a call at 7 a.m. He's like, "You want to get coffee, guy? I got shit to talk about." I was like, "I'm in for a long day. I got a long day of this because this is what I do every fucking day."
I try to corner him and like I got to get stuff on my mind.
That's why our podcast, he'll go in to do stuff like that, and I'll just be like, "I'm silly. We're silly."
Yeah.
Before he fucking starts a movement.
And it's funny because he tries to get off the phone with me. It's real hilarious because I'll be on a rant and he'll be like, "Oh my God, my daughter's dead," and then he just gets off.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what's important. It's not all the blood. It's the plastic straws for his daughter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well, you guys, I know you're doing like a live podcast at like 3:00 today, right?
Yeah. We're doing that 3. Yes.
So, well, thanks for making
Yeah.
the time to
course.
come up
Dude,
here.
we've been looking forward to this so much, and we
great.
almost feel like we're obligated because you support us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
No,
We appreciate it,
no
man.
problem.
Yeah.
And come back anytime. Also, and I'm going to be going on yours, I think, in February, right?
Can't
Yes,
wait to have
yes.
you.
February?
It's going to be great.
Yeah. We're going to talk history.
Hell yeah.
For 3 minutes, and then we'll just
We'll just rant,
pull around. Yeah.
we'll rant about the monarchy.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It'll be part 2 of this,
Yeah.
which was fun. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, History Hyenas. Go to patreon.com/Bay Ridge Boys. By the way, also, I want to mention, check out all your Bay Ridge Boys sketches and Ladder
Yes.
14. There's so much fun stuff you guys put out there. Bay Ridge Boys, that could be a TV show. That's
Thanks,
We
man.
hope it
has
will be.
anyone said to you, hey, pitch this? It's
We
funny.
have, and nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody
so,
cares,
you know,
yeah.
like, because the TV executives are a little late with stuff,
Yeah.
but hey, we're going to keep putting them out
Yeah.
and see what happens.
We've had some feedback, like the people love it, fans love it, but we've had feedback that like, we've seen that before. It's like, no, you haven't.
No, you
But,
haven't.
know.
Executives
it's-
just don't
yeah,
want
they
it.
haven't seen it before. It's super funny. I watched that over Succession any day.
Oh, appreciate
Sorry,
that.
HBO. I worked at HBO. This HBO's a sponsor of this podcast. It's okay. But Bay Ridge Boys is great. And something else I wanted to mention you do. But anyway.
Blowing the Light, my
Good.
special. Check
Blowing
that
the
out.
Light.
Check
Yeah.
out his 9/11 story.
Yes, on YouTube and all my live stand-up dates at chrisdcomedy.com. I'm all over, so check the schedule.
YanisPapasComedy.com. Check my dates coming up. When is this releasing?
Jay?
It's probably February.
Probably first or second week of February.
Okay, so I'll be at Gotham Comedy Club February 27th, 28th, and then Uncle Vinny's. Gotham 21st, 22nd. Uncle Vinny's in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, 27th, 28th. So New York and New Jersey.
Excellent. All right.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. You
Thank you.
promise you're going to come on again? This is
Yes.
great.
I
Are you
want to
kidding
do.
me?
I want to do another one right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to start the camera again.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
All right.
That was so much fun.
That was great.
Hey, you're still listening. That's really cool because that makes you a special fan of the James Altucher Show. Thank you. And since you're a super fan, I want to make it worth your while. I want to make it so that you get special perks and all sorts of stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. This is a contest only available to the people listening right now at the end of this interview. But before I tell you what the contest is, let me tell you the prize. The prize is you can enter to be a guest on my podcast. You'll get a phone call from me, and we'll make a whole episode answering whatever question you want to ask about life, your job, investing, money, relationships, writing, creativity, entrepreneurship, whatever you want to talk about. So here's how to enter, and I hope you do. I really want to chat with you guys. Text a friend with the link to this episode, and make sure to tell them why you think they'd get value from listening. Remember, text a friend with the link to this episode, and you have to tell them why you think they'd get value from listening to this particular episode. Then take a screenshot of your text and email it to me at askaltucherpodcast@gmail.com. That's askaltucherpodcast@gmail.com. ASKALTUCHER podcast@gmail.com. Here's the best part. You are in control of your chances. You can get more chances to win. Every person you text about this episode is a new entry. So if you text 10 people, that's 10 entries you get, 10 chances, and there's no limit. Plus, I'll be reading these, so it'll really help me to see and understand what you like about an episode so I can keep giving you more of that. I want to learn through this contest. Think of this like a way to help influence the creative direction of this show. Fans are also producers, are also potentially guests. So I thank you guys so much. Remember, that's askaltucherpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll put the contest details in the show notes for you. Thanks, and hurry because who knows how long this contest will last.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power, so how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/advance. That's oracle.com/advance. Oracle.com/advance.